Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Discovering God with Candace. If you are new, thank you so much for stopping by. If you are a returning friend, thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. So, guys, today the video didn't record again. I don't know what's going on with the system I'm using currently, but it's not recording. So next week, we are planning on doing something completely different. We're not going to use the same system that we're using. We're planning on going live. We typically start around 8:15. So if you guys want to join me, and that's Central Standard Time in the morning. So if you guys want to join the live, be ready around 8:15 next week. We're going to join the live. If there's a delay, I apologize. This will be my first time going live, but yes, we're going to be going live at around 8:15 next week instead of doing what we're doing before. Now, oh my gosh, you guys, it was so good. The Bible study was so good. You know what we talked about, it was great. This was week 11. It's called Bearing Burdens, and I'm going to go ahead and read everything we went over, I'm going to read the introduction, and then I'll just go over the questions and stuff for you guys. And I just apologize again. I did make a decision not to upload my last Bible study, but I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row, so I will... I think I'm going to just go ahead and give you guys something, because 2 weeks in a row, I apologize. But don't worry, week 12 is going to be great. So let me start with the introduction for week 11. Transition can be a means of evolving into something better, but you must be sure that you're intentional in how you do it, because the enemy always seems to turn up the heat when you're going through transition. It's when you find out how strong you are and how strong your prayer life is. In Deuteronomy 1, we find Moses addressing the children of Israel, reminding them of their journey. He goes over all the twists and turns of their trek through the wilderness to help them understand where they've come from and where they're going. I submit that at this point, Moses isn't just trying to help them understand. He's trying to make sense of his own process of transition too. He starts off by reminding them of when the Lord told them they've been stuck for too long at Mount Horeb and it was time to move on. God told them which path they have to travel, and they'd occupy the same land their ancestors were promised. Then Moses has an honest moment. He remembers how the children of Israel had grown into a much larger multitude than when they started out, and admits he can't handle their many issues on his own. How can I bear your problems and your burdens and your disputes all by myself? Deuteronomy 1:12, verses 12. Therefore, he follows the Lord's directive and appoints wise, understanding, and respected men. Deuteronomy 1, verses 13. From within the community to help carry the load of the people. Moses sees this need more than ever while in transition, because when people are shifting from one place to the next, it can be challenging, confusing, and chaotic. When you're a leader or someone relies on, sometimes your community challenges become your challenges, and their confusion become your confusions. You're handling their problems, you're finding solutions for them, but are you also relieving them of their responsibility or accountability? In a season of transition from better to best, you've got to let everybody work out their own salvation. Yes, we are called to strengthen our brothers and sisters, and we've been directed to help them bear their burdens and when they're weak, but we're not designed to carry all of the load ourselves. Not even Moses was. Galatians 6 verses 5 says that each one shall bear his own load. You may be accustomed to bailing everyone out, and of course you want to help as much as you can, but we shouldn't enable people or prevent them from growing. Instead, encourage, empower, and celebrate them, but hold them accountable to carry their own load in the midst of their transition. Man, we started off on this introduction because this introduction was powerful. Both me and Lindsay have been in positions of leadership. We both understand what it's like to lead, and we talked about that in the study. We mentioned how there is a fine line of being there for our community and how that is important, but we also need to make sure that we are not enabling people. She mentioned an example of when she and her boyfriend were carrying some furniture because she lives upstairs on the second floor, and he was like, I'll get at the bottom and you'll go at the top because the bottom will be heavier. That's where most of the load will be, and you will guide us and direct us. And she said she did that, but she had to stop and put it down because she just wasn't strong in that area. So they switched positions where she was at the bottom and her boyfriend was at the top guiding. And I feel like and then she mentioned how we need to be mindful of what people's strengths and weaknesses are. And I mentioned that it's very important that we need to, I love how when people are in their strengths, I love it when people are in doing what they're called to do, because everybody is happy and it's so uniform. Everybody is doing their part. It's good. And then I mentioned also how sometimes as a leader, you can get pulled into many different spots, and this can easily go to, now I'm doing everything for you, and how there is burnout as a leader, as Moses was experiencing. Like, this was a lot. This was too much. I am capable of helping in many different facets. However, there is also burnout and fatigue that comes through that. So it's like, and this is like, I'm used to being a leader. I like being a leader, and like I said, I'm gifted in many areas. That's why I'm a leader. And I know sometimes people, with that comes jealousy, because, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. But Lindsay pointed out, she was all like, but sometimes, people do get jealous of things that you can do well, but they don't realize that came through the test and the trial. You got good at something through adversity. And it wasn't just something that you wanted to be good at or was a natural strength, which is something that I feel like a lot of us can understand, that like, this wasn't a skill that I'm proud, like, not to say that you're not proud to have, but it's not like I got it through good things. I got this skill through hard things, through doing the hard things and through not giving up. So we also talked about how basically in Deuteronomy, it's just an overview of everything that happened, and how going back and looking at everything that the Lord has brought you to now is important. It's encouraging. It's important to take inventory of what the Lord has done for you. It keeps you humble, and it encourages you to keep moving forward, because when you stop and you look back at what the Lord has done, you can praise the Lord for that. And then we also talked about how we can't expect our life to not have trials and tribulations. We have to be able to go through the valley to get to the mountaintop. Sometimes we want to stay stuck in the valley, or we want to ignore the things that are happening in the valley, when we need to actually face those things, face the giants, face whatever it is that we're trying to run from, because we're never going to get out of the valley if we don't face these things. We're never going to grow. And if we want to get closer to God, we need to actually go to God, ask God, for help and guidance. And God is not just going to pull you out of that situation. He's going to show you how to walk through this situation. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So stay encouraged. We also talked about being connected to God, how important that is, and not having idols, not running to those idols that we have as a cop out to not face the hard thing. And we talked about what idols could be. Idols are practical things. It's what's that first thing you go to in the morning? That's typically your idol. If it's not Jesus, if it's your phone, if it's your TV, if it's a person, that is typically more than likely your idol. She mentioned, because she's reading this book, and she said, I forgot the name of the book exactly, so I'm not going to quote it, but she mentioned she's reading this book about it's about 40 days without sugar, something like that. And she said that, can you put this down for 40 days? And if you can't put it down for 40 days without saying something about, giving an excuse as to why you need it or why you're doing it, that may be your idol as well. So we talked about how, we look at how I used to look at idols, where it's just like, I'm worshiping this golden calf or this statue or whatever. But no, it could be simply just, this is the person I'm always going to. I'm looking at them as an idol. Or the TV, I'm always looking at that, going to TV. Or it could be, I go to social media and I'm always scrolling on social media. Or it could be food, liquor, porn. It could be whatever. It could be any of those things that you could go to as your idol. And we have to be able to say, man, can I put this down for 40 days? Can I connect with God? When you stay connected to God, when you stay planted next to the living water, you'll be able to have strong roots. You'll be able to produce good fruit, and other people will be able to eat off that fruit that you have. And I mentioned how God told Peter, he mentioned to him 3 times, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. He said again, Peter, do you love me? And he said, yes. And he said, well, feed my sheep. Jesus mentioned this to Peter 3 times, and he told him 3 times to feed the sheep. To me, that represents, if you love the Lord, you're going to share his word. You're going to feed his sheep. And the only way that we can feed his sheep is we need to have something to relate to. If we don't have nothing to relate to, how are we going to impact the people of the world? If you never go through anything, how can you then relate to anything that the people of the world has gone through? We are in the world, but we're not of the world. We go through hardships. We go through all these different things, and we look at it as, oh man, I can't believe this is happening to me. And oh my goodness, I can't believe, we go through the motions. We have these emotions, which is fine. Emotions are fine. But what do we do with those emotions? Do we go to God? Do we go to the living water? Do we ask him for advice? Do we ask him for help? Lindsay pointed out, how many times have you asked God, what's your will for my life? Instead of telling God what the will is for your life, for him to do. So it's like, how many people, she wonders, she's like, how many people ask God, what's your will for my life, God? Not, this is what I want. And I have to admit, I don't ask that enough. And then we also talked about making sure you sit and wait and listen for God. I admitted that I haven't been doing that much. I haven't done that in a long time. And when I did do it, when I used to sit and I used to wait for God, he used to actually tell me stuff. And it's about having patience. And the first time that I've ever sat and waited for God, there was nothing. There was nothing, but I was consistent anyways. I just had a good time in the Lord. I said I did this once a week, 30 minutes every week, and I would just sit. I would worship the Lord, and I would just sit and wait for him. If it was quiet for 5 or 10 minutes, I would start off with a worship, and then I would sit and I would wait for him. It was 30 minutes altogether, so I'll worship for a little bit until you feel the day has been washed off, and then I'll sit for the rest of the time quiet. And at first, the Lord didn't really speak to me, but I don't know when he did, but I remember when he did start speaking, and it changes your life. God wants to talk to you. God wants to connect to you. And when we practice waiting for him, putting that idol down and listening to him, we will be I don't want to say all that God created us to be, because I feel like that's a step in that right direction. But I want to say, I feel like we will have more. It's not, I feel like, I know we will have more peace in our life once we start connecting to God like he originally designed it. Lindsay pointed out, God created this whole thing. You know what I mean? He created this whole thing. Do you not believe that he has what's best for you? Do you not believe that God knows what he has planned for your life? Learning to trust God and working towards God is something that everyone, all of us, need to get in a better habit of practicing. At least I'll speak for myself. Something that I need to get in a better habit of practicing. I won't say all of us, I'll say myself. And once I start connecting back to God, I know when I did it the first time, I had more peace. I was able to, God started showing and doing things for me. And it wasn't like, it wasn't hard. It was like he said in Matthew 11, he's like, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It was an easy thing. I didn't even think about some of the stuff I was doing. It just kind of happened naturally. God's yoke is easy and his burden is light. I can definitely attest to that. And I know the Bible study, you didn't get to hear, all of it. It's typically a 40-minute session or a 40-minute video that we have, for 30 to 40 minutes. But this is the gist of everything we talked about. And I hope some of this or all of it has encouraged you. Let me go ahead and read the questions, and let me let you know what we're reading for next week. So question 1, would you consider yourself an enabler or one who empowers? Why? Question 2, as moms, leaders, or sisters, we have a tendency to run to the rescue. Can you think of a time when you intervened when you should have allowed someone to figure something out for themselves? What were the results? And question 3, can you see yourself transitioning from one level to the next right now? How has your process been? And this is the actions for the week. Action 1, write a list of people you're supposed to help and how you think you're supposed to help them. Make note of exactly how much you'll help and where you'll draw the line. Action step number 2. If you believe you're going through a transition, big or small, list the steps you can take to be successful. Make a timeline to help you meet your goals. All right. For week 12, the title is Blessed or Cursed. And we're going to be reading day 1, Deuteronomy chapter 16 through 18. Day 2, Deuteronomy chapter 19 through 21. Day 3, Psalms chapter 18 through 21. Day 4, Deuteronomy chapter 22 through 25. Day 5, Deuteronomy chapter 26 through 28. Day 6, Psalms chapter 22 through 25. And day 7, catch up on any of the readings you miss. All right, so I hope you guys, let me stop making noises. I hope you guys really enjoyed that video today. If you did, hit the like button. Again, I do apologize for not having the video again, but again, we're going to be going live. So if you want to go live, just if you want to join us while we're going live, you can. It'll be again around 8:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to watch it later, it's going to be under the live video tab. Right now, I don't have any live videos, so it should say 0. But when you go to my channel, it'll show under live, and you can watch it there. So it's going to be in a separate section on my YouTube channel. So that's where it will be. But again, if you like this video, hit the like button, share with your friends if you know someone who needs to hear this, and I can't wait to see you next time. Remember, Jesus loves you and you are not alone. Bye.